Hello, everybody. If there's anybody, there may not be a person around. Here's Enzo. Hey, Enzo. I don't think there's anyone here yet. They might have forgotten all about me. Pretty sure I'm live. Pretty sure it's good. But yeah. Oh, look, two people. Woohoo!
Take it. One of them's me.
One of them's me. That'd be
Hey,
right too.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi. Gosh. So yeah, I'll hi Kathy. There we go. See, Kathy's here. Yeah, I'll bring up, let me see if I can bring up this picture of the zombies. It's been a bit of a week, guys. I'm going to get Enzo. Hi, Tanya. I'm going to get Enzo to talk about his weekend just gone, because, of course, Enzo went to, what's the name of the town?
Caney, Kansas, for the 2025 Border Town Paracon.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a little while. It was a bit of a schmozzle, and Enzo's going to tell us all about it. He might have even been attacked by demons.
My presentation brought down the house, baby.
It did. And people, we were watching your presentation. Tanya was there watching. I know she was.
Yeah,
so there you go.
I came over and explained what was going on to the chat. I remember.
Yeah. Hang on, let me see. Now, I've only got one screen to go with now, so I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to. Oh, wait on. I know. I can share a photo, I think. I just want to show you a little picture, a little photo. Once I find it, you know me and my, there we go, me and my expertise with. Now, let's see if this works. It did. Woohoo! Yes, I know, a good schmozzle. That's always good. So that little fella there is a squirrel, right? And I was looking through the news as I do, and I thought, I'll talk about something fun this week, something nice with animals, right? So this is just a regular squirrel, all right? He's called a zombie squirrel. And I'll read you what it says. It's zombie squirrels are squirrels suffering from squirrel fibromatosis, a viral skin disease caused by the squirrel fibroma virus that creates large tumor-like lesions on their heads and limbs. While the growths are alarming in appearance, the condition is not a true threat to humans or pets and poses no risk to human health. And most squirrels recover as the fibromas regress over time. And I like it. It says, fortunately for the US residents who have spotted infected squirrels in their yards, the virus cannot be spread to humans or common pets like cats and dogs. So that being said, how do you say his name? Chevenel, a Webb of Maine's Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, said residents should not interact with the infected animals. I would not recommend trying to capture a squirrel that has the virus, said Mr. Webb. And I thought, you know me, guess who'd have her hands bloody... I put gloves on, though, but poor little fella. I'm just trying to use my mouse.
So is it something that like clears up at all, or
yes? So apparently the virus. And that's the thing, they can get it through. So I'd be in trouble, but then again, no, I wouldn't, because I'd be careful. But like, so if I put out people who put out a feeder for the squirrels, you know, you put out a feeder with some food and stuff for them. Infected squirrels eat out of it. A little bit of spittle, and a squirrel that's not sick comes and, hi Banshee, comes and eats out of the same feeder and catches the virus. But look at them, poor little zombie squirrel. But at least
like a mess.
It does look like a mess. So although the wildlife man in Maine says don't catch them and don't do anything, how could you imagine how uncomfortable the poor little thing must be? Of course I'd catch it. I'd get it. I can't catch anything. They say humans can't get anything. I'd bring it in. I'd give it a little bath. I'd feed it fresh fruit and veg and keep him until he got well again and then let him go. Well, of course, he might not want to be let go by the time I'm finished with him.
That,
Hi,
that
Jeff.
growth on his that growth on his face there on that picture on the left, that looks pretty ugly. It's is it
Oh,
on
it's
his
terrible.
eyelid a little bit?
Yep, looks like it. Looks
Oh
like it's above
no.
his eye, and poor little thing. What do you do? But yeah, of course, you listen to the professionals, and you do as you're told. But as
When
if
have you
I'd do
ever
it.
done that?
When have I ever done that? But there you go. So that's the zombie, and then the other thing. Let me see. Remove that I found was, and I'll read that story. Hang on, I've got to remember what I'm doing here. Image file. There it is. I've got the story on this as well. Look at that. Attacked squirrel, beware. So I thought, oh, what's all this about? And I'll just close off that. So I thought, what's all this about? So this is the story on the attack squirrel. They may be cute, but don't pet or feed your local squirrels. Residents in North Bay learned this the hard way this month after a squirrel attacks in one of the neighbourhoods there. It sent at least 3 people to the emergency department or emergency room. So Joe and Marie Ayob were examining a newly trimmed tree in their San Rafael backyard earlier this month when they first laid eyes on a friendly-looking squirrel. She kept coming on towards us, and we thought that was kind of interesting because they usually run away, Ayob recalled. The squirrel jumped on the ledge of the couple's wooden fence, close enough for Marie to snap a photo. Then things got dicey. The squirrel began gnawing at the fence, chipping away big chunks of wood. Joe yelled at it to scram and swatted at it with his baseball cap, his wife said. She jumped on his head, scratched his ear, and then landed on his leg, Marie said. He pushed her off, and she finally scurried away. The couple went to the emergency room to make sure the scratches weren't dangerous. Squirrels don't carry rabies, she was told, and Joe was sent home with a clean bill of health. But the next day, dun, 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 the same squirrel, they said, returned to the scene of the crime to chomp at a mop lying on Ayob's backyard in Ayob's backyard, and it seems to terrorise other neighbours in the Lucas Valley neighbourhood north of San Rafael. A flyer posted around the neighbourhood notifying residents of a very mean squirrel warned that this is not a joke. 5 people have been attacked. John Heblack was out for her usual morning walk last Sunday when she felt something heavy glom onto her leg. I didn't see it come from anywhere. I wasn't by any trees or bushes. I was walking in the middle of the street, she told KQED. I was trying to bat it off, but it wouldn't get off. It just clung more, and I was swinging my leg around, screaming. She said she jogged home, told her husband, and went to the emergency room to get the bleeding scratches on her legs examined. Heblack was prescribed an antibiotic for her wounds. Heblack said that she had heard from a neighbour the day before her attack. Another woman was bitten, they believe, by the same squirrel. I heard about that incident and it happened on the same street, but I just thought, it's not going to happen to me. Heblack said that she was fine after the incident and returned to her regular walking route that day. Animal experts in Marin County say that the squirrel gone wild isn't actually as unusual as people may think. We've seen this happen before, said Alison Hermes, the director of marketing for Wildcare, a wildlife hospital in North Bay. This is almost certainly a young squirrel that probably fell from the nest, landed on the ground, and was found by people who took him in and tried to raise him themselves. The squirrel likely got used to being fed and cared for and ended up confused when it returned to the wild. As he got older, got more squirrely, the animal either escaped from the caretakers or they decided to let him go, and the squirrel doesn't understand what changed. She said the squirrel doesn't immediately understand why others aren't feeding it and will likely take matters into its own hands. The squirrel will jump on the person, clawing at them, biting them, desperate for the food that they are expecting a human to provide. It's actually a really sad situation. And she said a clear lesson as to why you shouldn't feed wildlife.
Good point.
So there's another job for me, to go and catch this squirrel and also take it into my home.
Squirrel!
Hi, Heather. Hi, Heather. We have nutty people, so why can't we have nutty squirrels? That's true. Maybe it's possessed. A demonic squirrel. So I thought they were pretty. That was a pretty cute, Tanya. This one time at band camp. Do you know that line from American Pie the movie American Pie must be the most, but people say it nowadays and probably don't remember where it comes from, but that would be, lots of people use that, don't they? Hi, Carla. Hi, Carla. Oh, gosh, that's funny. Well, I shouldn't laugh. Now, the other thing, let me see if I can do this too. I think I can. Yes. This is what's also happening. It's the time of the year for this. Anyone from Australia will understand what I'm about to show you. And let's have a look.
Didn't quite catch that one. Hey boy, welcome to spring.
It's hard to avoid magpies if you live in the suburbs, but remember, they are just protecting their babies. Wear a hat, sunglasses, or simply avoid them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a hat. That's the hat you can wear to avoid the magpies.
What the hell was on top of that?
Well, geez, I tell you what, I'm not sure. Dee's not here. Oh, Heather's here. She'll know. But yes, they attack. So what happens, we've got our magpies, black and white birds. You've got black and white birds in America too, but they're not magpies. But so the maggies, we call them maggies, they're everywhere, But around this time of year, springtime, they've got their nests and they've got their babies. So unless they know you, so they don't normally attack you if they know you. So if they're familiar with you coming outside and, that you're in their neighbourhood, you're familiar to them, normally you're pretty right, especially because most people sometimes feed them anyway. But if they don't know you, so people on bicycles, even just walking your dog, that sort of thing, the postie, you come down the street and there's trees where the maggies have got their nests, they're going to just go, what are you doing? Or go walking through the park. The magpies get really protective and they just swoop at you. And people have actually been severely hurt by the maggies, like eyes and all sorts, because they've got long
big. They're related to crows, right? They're kind of big.
Sort of, yeah. I think the same family. They're not as big as a crow, but they're still big. Like they're a big solid bird, and they've got very long beaks. So and they hit people on the head, and there you go. See, there, one made her head bleed. They are savage. I have. Tanya's got seagull post-traumatic stress disorder. Oh dear. So I have been swooped once when I was in a park, but knowing why it was swooping me, I just made sure I moved away. Like I just went, oh, okay, and I went in the opposite direction. But if you're on a bicycle or you're pushing, they're just, so you've got that hat that you saw on that girl, the things that are on it don't really work. People get their bicycle helmets and put straws or bits of whatever on top of the helmet, because apparently when the birds come in to get, other people say if you wear a hat with eyes on it at the back, like eyes drawn, it won't go you, but they do. So I don't think there's really much, in all honesty, you can do to keep the maggies from having a go. But I did suggest, it was happening in a school that my daughter went to, and I said to the teachers, I said, listen, it's springtime, they're up in the trees, and because she was saying, they're swooping at the kids, I said, go out and put food down. I said, go and put some bread, some scraps, whatever, put scraps down, because once they realise the humans in the vicinity aren't a threat, because, they're leaving us gifts, they'll leave you alone. And it did apparently work, which was great. So, but yes, it's that time of the season.
Yeah, and they're not alone as far as birds that'll get territorial around their nests, because around here, probably the bigger one would be it's called a Mississippi kite. It's kind of like a more nimble, thinner hawk. and they get to be, their wingspan is, like that. And but they're like super fast, so they can dive at. They do the same thing. They dive at you really close and all that. The other big one for around here where I live is barn swallows. Very, very tiny, little tiny stubby wings, but they're super fast and agile, and they attack like in 20 or 30 of them. Just start swirling all around you. It's like monstrous mosquitoes or something.
Well, attacked by a seagull, nesting. Interesting. Well, most birds will do that. Even little sparrows have a go at you if you walk past where they've got their nests.
Oh, yeah.
So, and humans, anyone threatens our bubbas, we're like little tigers, aren't we? But
even squirrels from the previous story.
Yeah, yes. If you put Vegemite on sticks, it repels the drop.
The drop bears, yes.
Drop bears. I should have found a drop bear, shouldn't I? Yeah, it could be drop bear season. What's Banshee saying? Carla had a video this morning. I haven't seen it, Carla. I was out doing things, and besides, this morning is probably a different.
Familiar
thing.
With killdeer? Killdeer are one of those species that they fake like they've got a busted wing, so that they lead you away from where they nest in the low grass, and they'll be like right in the middle of the street, like right in front of you, and they're like, "Oh, look at my left," and they move like one wing out and kind of like shake like they're injured, so that you'll follow them, and they're leading you away from their nest. And when you get close enough, then they just fly off.
Wow, that's a clever bird. Hi, Jonathan. Crossover Paranormal Society. Yeah, it's funny. I've never seen bird attacks here. Yeah, look, as I say, I've been swooped. I've seen other people be swooped, but it doesn't bother me. I just figure, well, just guard myself and get out. Get out of the area. They've got babies. Other people are like, "Hey, Laura." Other people are like, bastards. And I'm like, well, it's just nature, and we do knock down all of their bloody trees. What else are they going to do? But there you go. Hey, Jethro, again. Let's see. What else was I going to... Oh, well, we've got... if anyone goes over to Nerd Report or Grayson Report later on for a bit of a giggle, there's been... I did talk about this. I glanced on it last week, I think. But there was a fellow in... Oh, God, where was it? Panama, that supposedly found a piece of a meteorite, took it home, and something started to grow out of the meteorite.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard of this one? And so he kept doing vlogs, or whatever we call them nowadays, like little TikToks. Oh, it's growing, and it was doing all this, and it looked like a spider, then it looked like a crab, then it was just lots of like this, business. And then the story got more and more that he finally took this thing and dumped it in a waterway in Panama. Now apparently it's in Las Vegas, Los Angeles. It's all over the place. But Lewis and Lisa have been covering this on Lewis's channel, the Nerd Report and Grayson Report. So if you want to have a bit of a giggle, I don't think it's real, but it could be. Go over and watch Lewis and Lisa discuss it. What are you going to show me, Enzo?
This is a killdeer faking that it's injured and leading you away from the nest. Where it'll walk a little bit, and then it'll kind of like lay down and spread its tail out and put one wing out and act like it's hurt, make a lot of squawking and stuff like that. And as you get closer, it kind of like moves away a little bit and all that. But he's fine. She's fine. She's perfectly fine. She's just doing this to try and lure predators away.
And of course, I'd follow her because I think, oh, you poor little thing.
Yeah.
Only to be tricked. They're pretty cute. That's cute. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you. It is a smart bird, isn't it, Laura? And Tanya's put up the link to the Nerd Report. But yeah, and I've also put links in the description of today's live. If you go down to the description, I've put links to the actual videos on the alien from the meteorite. Oh dear. Ducks do that too when they nest in bulrushes. Oh, there you go. I've had pet ducks, so obviously they haven't had to do that. But that's interesting. And it's smart because then the predator chases what it thinks is easy prey, gets away from the babies, chases it, and then mum gets away or dad gets away. Good idea. Now, guys, I don't know if you've been looking lately, but obviously there's a few things happening in the world in regard, hi Stormy, in regard to the comet 3AI, is that what we call it? 3AI, which has
3i Atlas.
That's the one. Which did what do you call it? It's already gone behind Mars, and of course, conspiracy theory: the government shuts down on the very day that the NASA was going to capture the pictures. I'm pretty sure NASA would have still caught the pictures, even though
they still have. They already have, because NASA has, and actually there are other countries that have probes around Mars as well. So even if NASA was shut down, like they say, which they weren't, their website was down. So even if they had something brand new that they could have posted immediately, they couldn't have done that. But
hi, Julie.
Julie made it to the Paracon. Didn't announce who she was or anything. She showed up, and I kind of figured it out later that that's who that was. But
bloody hell, Julie! Well, then Julie would have been privy to some of the drama, but we'll get to that later. There was drama. Drama alert! Drama alert!
There for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But getting behind the comet, late Thursday night, like 28 hours ago, was its closest approach to Mars. Several countries have satellites around Mars that have some pretty good cameras on them that they all swung around because its proximity to Mars is like 14 million kilometers, which sounds like a lot. Well, that's really close for space. And so they should get some pictures, which we'll probably see in a day or two. There were already some of the rovers. It was bright enough where some of the rovers caught some pictures, which it just looks like a blurry patch. It doesn't really look like much of anything, but I wouldn't expect it to look like too much from the rover camera. That's not really designed for that. But
so what about the stories? Because I've been looking at this, Enzo knows, and guys, I've been looking at all the stories on the comet and all the supposed bad things that are going to happen. And is it an alien spaceship? And all this sort of stuff. And I think if it was, by now we'd know about it. But it's just, well, all right, well, but there's still, and that was just because they were wondering, because it was different readings they were getting from the comet that weren't normal. So
I have a list of the anomalies right here.
So what were the anomalies?
First of all, every time a comet swings around, people lose their minds for whatever reason. And they've been doing that for thousands of years. They were usually, depending on what side of the aisle you were on, they were often viewed 1,000 years ago as portents of doom or really good luck. We're going to do great in our battle today because Thor is throwing this mighty message through the sky or whatever. But even like back in the 90s when the Hale-Bopp comet came by, all of these same headlines coming, it's going to hit Earth, or it's going to smash into the sun, and it's going to explode, and everybody's going to die, and all that stuff. Always remember, don't panic. Don't panic.
Don't panic.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's right there on the cover. Don't panic. So the truth is, there are some anomalous things about it that aren't like, regular comets that we've seen for the last, where we've documented over the last few hundred years here on Earth. This, of course, it's a little different. This isn't from our local neighborhood. This is from outside of our solar system. So I would expect it to act a little strange, be very different, because it didn't grow up like our homegrown comets. We don't really know how long it's been between star systems, probably on the scale of billions of years.
Well, would you say, though, you know how they're saying it doesn't exhibit the same sort of things that they're used to? So it's more, what was the word? Is it no iron, or it was nickel? It was something that was giving off. And I thought, well,
I'll get to that.
Yeah. But when you get to that, my question is, well, okay, it doesn't present like things you're used to, but that's because how do you know what goes on in another galaxy? For that other galaxy, that may be normal.
Yeah. Let me run down the list here. Okay. Of things that are anomalous. The known thing, and this is from Avi Loeb's website, where he is the Harvard astronomer that everybody misquotes, and everybody says he says all these things in interviews, which is totally taken out of context, and little tiny bites of things that he says that are taken out of context, and then you see all these ridiculous over the top headlines all over YouTube. My feed is flooded with it. But basically his number one thing is the biggest thing that we know so far is its size. It's way bigger than what they expected it to be. They're guessing. They don't have exact numbers, of course, because as it gets closer to the sun, it starts kind of melting, kind of so to speak. It's kind of like a dirty snowball where there's rocks and there's ice and stuff like that. And as it gets closer to the sun, that stuff starts melting off. And as it's melting off, that's that big long tail that we see in space. That's what we see, is all that stuff melting off. But this is they're guessing it's around 5 kilometers wide, which is way bigger than the other 2 interstellar comets or objects that we've seen so far. That's the big one. And the other one, the second thing, is the jet that comes off of it. Normally with a regular comet as it's going by, at some point, depending on where we are in our orbit and where it is in its orbit as it's spinning around the sun, it may actually appear to have like 2 tails. If you look at any of the Hale-Bopp comet photos from the 90s, it certainly had 2 very distinctive type tails. One is where stuff and also, I said earlier, it melts. That's the wrong word. It sublimates, where it goes straight from a frozen, basically it's frozen gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen and water and all that stuff is frozen on the surface. And usually they're kind of slowly spinning as they're going through there. So every time it spins around and that side's facing the sun, all of those frozen things sublimate. They go straight from a solid straight to a gas. They pass right over the liquid part, all the way around. It would be like, if you put a chunk of a big ice cube in a hot frying pan, you'll see where it'll slowly melt. You'll see the water, it'll bubble away and turn into steam. This case, it's happening so fast that when your ice cube hits the skillet, it goes straight to steam. And just poof, and it kind of explodes. And because it happens so quickly, it gets ejected off of the surface of the comet far enough away to where it doesn't just fall back down onto the comet with its own gravity. It gets pushed out away from it. So what happens is, when it might have 2 tails, is it'll leave a trail of stuff that's just falling off of it as it's going. And that's usually the bigger one. And then, depending on the way that the sun's hitting, the solar winds themselves coming from the sun might be hitting it at a totally different angle from the direction it's moving. So if it's moving like this and the winds are hitting it like this, you'll have another tail that's basically it's stuff pushing. It's the solar winds pushing some of that same material this way, and it's falling off behind. Well,
so that's what can give the impression of 2 tails, when it's just more like an optical illusion, a mixture of solar waves.
It's really happening. It's not an illusion. Excuse me. But as we mentioned, it's 5 kilometers wide. Not much of a tail. Only like a couple of weeks ago did a very small tail appear. But a few weeks before that, they were kind of seeing a tail, but it was going out in front of the comet.
Yeah,
where,
that's what.
As your comet goes along and the sun starts hitting it, stuff will start spilling it off as it's going that direction, kind of like leaving a little contrail behind it, kind of. But for whatever reason, there was a very small jet headed towards the sun. We've never seen that before. We don't know what that is.
So that's where all of the people are probably going, oh my God, it's an alien spaceship, and that might have been propulsion.
My first reaction was they're hitting the retro jets to slow down. So.
Yeah. But if it is an alien spaceship, it's apparently the size of Manhattan Island.
Yeah, about 5 kilometers. That's about right.
You know, that's massive. So
that and of course now it's got a lot. Yeah, I am in my element. Deep space, exactly where I need to be. And with those, those jets, the tail, and all that stuff. I don't know what you call a tail that goes in the front. I don't know what that is, but that isn't really as noticeable now because it is getting like kind of a regular tail. But it's close. It's to Mars already. It should have a lot bigger tail. There are actually other comets currently in our solar system that aren't even that close, that have a significant tail that if you have a decent telescope, you can see. And maybe in the next few weeks, you might be able to see some of those with the naked eye because there's one that's really big.
So long as they don't come too close to us, I'm happy to see them. But
space is really big.
Yeah. The other thing I sort of thought of too was the fact that because it is going behind the sun, well, it's already done that. I think that's what they're talking about. So I'm hoping, and Mars, I'm hoping they've got some good photographs of it because it's a learning curve. It's something interesting. I'm hoping that it's not a Manhattan Island size mothership. Because that'd be like interesting. It might settle everything down here on Earth though, because everybody will go, oh, wait a minute, let's forget about that. What's that? Strange things happen, but that's okay, Banshee. Rain happens and interferes with the internet for sure. But yeah, it's just it's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Probably nothing's going to come of it, but still be really interesting.
Well, let me check off a couple more things. Unusual chemical composition as those gases and stuff like that, because there's still like I said, that dirty snowball thing. There is chunks of rock and stuff like that buried in there. Some of which may be quite like building size. We don't know, and some of those could come peeling off too. But not usually. It's usually all the little stuff, all the snow and ice basically around the outside, and mostly frozen gases. But as those things sublimate off of the surface, some of them do take a little bit of the grit and the grime, the sand and stuff like that of those larger rocks. And in space, if you go to any museum that has like a big meteorite or anything like that, it almost always is a iron, nickel, or iron. Mostly just iron is a giant part of it, and then a lot of nickel. Yes, good probing. That's all as soon as possible.
Well, the other thing I'm concerned about is I've heard that. Because of what's happening, not just with the comet, the fact that the sun just had a massive, what do you call it, explosion type thing on it, a solar flare.
Yes.
There's been a massive solar flare that's happened. And so henceforth, that's what I was going to ask you about. And I think I sent you something about it, something or other about how the solar flare will affect us here. Now, I know solar flares do affect us. That's what sometimes takes down the mobile telephone or cell phone connections that can interfere with different things. So the question mark was, is that somehow involved, all of this happening at once along with the comet and everything, it's kind of like people are like, ooh, and all the other comets that are coming in too, like there's even more coming now. Like it's pretty massive. So how do you reckon, like, is the comet in any way connected with the solar flare, and what do we need to worry about the solar flare?
I'll get to that, and just let me finish off the composition stuff first. Basically all the stuff that's coming off of it, we can analyze that just by using spectrography and spectrography. I think I still screwed it up. Basically, we can analyze the stuff as it's coming off. But most of what is coming off is like 80%, 80 to 90% nickel, as far as metals coming off, and almost no iron, which is the exact opposite of what we would expect to see from any of our local comets. So I don't know what's going on here. I have an idea what it could be, but
what do you think?
I don't think it goes. You don't want to listen to the little parts. You want to go straight to the end. Am I that boring? Okay. I think
I'm getting excited because you just said you think you know what it could be. But keep going.
Basically, so there's that. There's the Avi Loeb points out the polarization, which the diffraction of light, shining off of all this stuff isn't right. But that kind of goes along with what the stuff is made of, which it's mostly nickel instead of iron and nickel, or even more iron than what you would expect. Those are both kind of related to each other. The other one that Avi Loeb is really concerned about is the trajectory, how it came in from outside our solar system. And because basically, like our solar system, we've all seen, pictures of our solar system, all the planets staying basically on the same plane. That's called the ecliptic plane, as they're spinning around the sun. Well, basically, this comet came in from the galactic core. Oh, that's the other thing too that he added a sixth item, is somehow he thinks the direction it came from, which would be basically the center of the galaxy, is kind of in the same neighborhood, within 10 degrees at least, of the 1977 WOW signal. Now, what the WOW signal is for the last almost 50 years, scientists have had radio telescopes just pointed at the sky, seeing what they can detect, radio signals and stuff like that, in case somebody's trying to contact us. And in 1977, the Big Ear telescope, which I think is in Ohio, here in the US, for 72 seconds, picked up a constant narrow beam signal basically from the center of the galaxy, which can't be attributed to anything from Earth, can't be attributed to our own satellites. It can't be attributed to anything. It is an anomalous thing, but it only lasted 71 seconds. If it was somebody like trying to communicate with us, saying, hey, humans, turn down your lights, we're trying to get sleep, whatever it is, it would last longer than that. It would because they don't know exactly what our planet is, if we're on the wrong side of the sun from the way that they're sending it. You would have to let that signal go on for months to make sure that you got it, because you may not catch the whole signal as the planet rotates, and you don't know if you only have one place on the whole planet. You have to wait till that part circles back around where they can pick it back up again, that kind of thing. So to be sure to send a signal to another star system, you would want it to last at least a few months, sending out a basic signal saying hi. Yeah, I have a big ear.
But maybe they couldn't. But still,
because 72 seconds or whatever it was. And when you go back, and they had an approximate, because it was such a strong signal, they knew pretty much what point in the sky it was coming from, and that's towards the center of the galaxy. Towards Sagittarius, for those of you that may know your constellations, because Sagittarius is over top of where the center of the galaxy is. And so he's thrown that one in as kind of a sixth weirdo thing. I don't know. That could be. It's like, okay, what? And so in like 1977 or whenever it was, when this occurred, this thing at the speed it's moving now, it would have been way on the outside of our solar system still. It would have still been relatively close. So was it like signaling, hey, here I come in, 50 years or whatever it is? I don't really buy that one so much, but there's a few other things because it's moving super fast. It doesn't deviate like other comets do, like the Hale-Bopp comet, for example, because it was big. The Hale-Bopp comet was actually much larger than 3I Atlas. 3I Atlas is like 5 kilometers. Hale-Bopp was like almost 9 or 10. It was really big. Is because all those pockets of gas are basically blasting off of the surface. It actually pushes it around like little correction jets, where it'll still go in the same general direction that it all is originally heading, in towards the sun, and then shoots back out into out of the solar system. But its path will vary because of all that outgassing. It's literally pushing it around. By as much as like I think Hale-Bopp, I want to say it was close to like 1,000 kilometers, and then it would go over this way and then up or down, all that stuff. So, but 3I Atlas, it ain't doing squat. It is pretty much it's wiggled some, like a kilometer, but for its size, for a comet that we're familiar with, it should be doing a lot more traversing than that.
So it should be more devious.
Yeah,
maybe it is being devious
because it's corkscrewing around.
It's the mothership. It's coming to get all of us believers. It's the rapture.
Oh boy! No, that was 2 weeks ago. We
well, maybe we're just running behind. Get the Kool-Aid.
But your original question was what was your question a second ago?
The sun, the solar flare, and everything.
Before I say it, my theory about what I think it is it's acting a lot like it doesn't have all of these frozen gases and ices and water on it. I think it might have already burned off in some other solar system, and all of that stuff burned off, and then it got kicked out of that solar system, and then it's heading towards us. We're getting a secondhand comet, and it doesn't have as much stuff packed on it to make the big tail, and maybe a bunch of iron got blasted off of it originally, and now we're just getting a little bit of the lighter stuff. So.
Or it's from the planet Vulcan, and it's time for first contact.
The big tell for if it's an alien ship. The big tell is when it hits around the backside of the sun. If it's heading out of the solar system towards Jupiter, as is predicted, it's a regular comet, or at least it used to be a comet, or it's something like that. It's from outside of the solar system, and it's keep right on trucking. Yeah, it just wants to be friends.
We're
gonna get friend zoned. But
so the solar flare,
if it's
anything to do with it.
Well, the solar flare could, because we've seen this before in the past, like if it had like a really long tail and the solar flare hits it like that, it'll disrupt that trail of stuff leaving behind it, where it'll be like dashed lines, where it'll punch holes in that tail of the comet. So it's where it's broken. You'll see it trail off, and then there's just be a blank spot where basically it's like blowing out a candle kind of a thing. It's like poof. And it went out for a second, but then it kept on going later on. But as far as it won't really affect like its trajectory, or the sun's not attacking the comet as it comes in. There is a magnetic electrical type attraction where there could be some interaction like that between the sun and really big stuff like 5 kilometers. I don't necessarily think, because it didn't really hit it full on. It wasn't like it was directed right at it. It just happened to catch it because our son's in the middle of throwing hissy fits for the last couple of years, and it should be slowing down here in the next year or so, and go back to its quiet time. We'll see.
Dun, 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 dun. Well, that's the thing, though. Like what I said before with the solar flare, does that mean that because it's just happened, and so over the next few days, things might get disrupted a bit with our cell phones and whatnot, like drop out, or will that not happen?
It'll mostly affect satellite signals. So if you have Starlink, it may not be as good as it normally is. If you're using ham radio, it's a disaster. If you're using only like a ham radio setup, it's pretty ugly for that. But we just had a pretty good one early last week. And honestly, we've been getting them pretty strong for the last couple of years. Really ever since like COVID started, like 2020. When conspiracy. Yeah, I don't. That's just a point in time when it started up. I'm just, so people remember and remember what your government did to you, but how you were mistreated. But it's certainly one of those things that it does go through active periods and then it gets really quiet, and we're just in one of those super active periods. This particular time has been way more active than what they originally predicted. They were expecting like a medium thing, and we've certainly been like in the high range. We've gotten, if you remember, we had the big blowout like a year and a half ago when there's people as far south as Florida were seeing the northern lights and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then
that's all from solar flares.
We're going to see the auroras again with this one, or
well, the one that hit the comet, that was the one that happened like last week. So that's already done and gone. There have been 3 smaller pop-offs. That if you were to look at the little map thing that NASA puts out, there's like 3 little waves. That'll be hitting us here in the next few days. It's not anywhere near as strong as the one that just happened last week, the one that hit the comet. But these ones they're small and they're like one right behind the other. So we'll see if you're an aurora watcher. If you're still like in the northern latitudes or southern latitudes, if you're on the southern hemisphere, you might see some okay to decent activity. Nowhere near as heavy as it would have been last week. So, yeah.
Yes.
I'm just farting on us. Pull my finger, son.
And what about the connection with earthquakes? Because I heard people trying to connect. Because we've had a few whoppers of earthquakes of late, the Russia one and
or
all
the
that
comet
sort of thing.
or the sun.
Well, the sun. Anything to do with that?
Comet isn't so much about that, but yes, as a matter of fact, when you get basically, we what's going on right now? Why these solar storms are kind of affecting a lot more than they normally would? Because they're not especially strong. They're not. These monstrous storms. The thing is we're kind of at the very beginning of the cycle where the North magnetic pole and South magnetic pole of the Earth are getting ready to flip. And, and just the magnetic pole. I'm not saying the whole Earth is flipping over. That'll come later, but that's a whole other story that I won't get into. But the magnetic poles will actually they'll kind of like form up and join together, like probably like somewhere around India, someplace like that for a period of time. And then they'll start separating and go back to the poles and all that. And birds will act, migratory birds will get all crazy and act weird, and GPS will act strange, and a bunch of stuff like that. It's totally survivable. Life will go on. Don't panic. But don't try navigating with a compass. You'll be in bad shape if you do.
You need to use the stars for that.
That's right. They don't move.
PMSing. That's right, Julie. Mother Earth, after all.
Well, the downside of our magnetic field of the Earth, basically, it's going to get super weak, and for a period of time, it'll actually be non-existent. And I'm talking like maybe a year or two from now. Whenever it does start that flipping thing, there's going to be a point where, because basically, the core of the Earth is a spinning molten iron core, and it creates a magnetic field. We've probably all were in high school and did the experiment with the bar magnet. You put the piece of paper over it, you put the iron filings on it, you can see the little bow type magnetic lines of force going from the north and south poles of the little bar magnet. Earth is the same way. It has the same thing. It has this kind of like, if you sliced a pumpkin vertically, where it goes out and around and then back. And that's actually great. We need that. A lot of radioactive particles and stuff like that, and charged particles from the sun hit that magnetic field and spin around and go to the north and south pole.
Well, what are we going to do without it, Enzo?
Well, a lot more direct line. Those things, that magnetic field is going to be way weaker. So a lot more of them are going to come straight in versus hitting it and getting drawn around to the poles. So for a period of a few years, you may want to limit your outside contact with the sun. You're going to burn very easily during that time. There will be
what about the birds and the animals and the raccoons?
This happens every 50 to 100,000 years when it flips like this, just the magnetic pole. And there were birds and there were animals and there were fish and all that stuff a long time. Sure, the first time they go to migrate south for the winter, they're going to go the wrong way. Or they're going to get super confused because they know they're not going the right way. They might get, some of them will adapt and survive.
What about the whales?
Same thing. We'll have to wait till James T. Kirk brings one back from the future.
Yeah, that was a good movie. All of those movies. I loved all of those movies. Crikey. Well, we're in for a bit of a spate of crazy times.
We always are.
Oh, well, guys, there'll be a lot of animal rescuing having to happen for me, I'm afraid.
You are going to be one of those animals, maybe.
Yeah, I'll probably be. Well, at least I know where my house is. Geez, I better get ready. Well, I've got my chickens. Right. I've got my vegetables planted.
Oh! Sorry, I pushed the wrong button.
Get ready for what, Enzo?
I meant to hit the don't panic button. Don't panic.
Instead he hit the
I hit the Pornhub button. Don't panic and watch Pornhub.
Oh dear. Oh, hang on. What does that mean for anyone who doesn't know? Are you ready to go shopping? What, at Pornhub? Come on, Emma. Oh my God. I was going to ask yes, for those of you who don't know, I booked a flight. I booked my flight to America for next year, for June, end of June. So I'm there for 4th of July and the 250th anniversary of the signing of the
United States. Signing a declaration.
Yeah, like happy times, the anniversary of when the United States became the United States, America.
It's going to be fun.
But hang on, but my question is a scientific one. Now that we've discussed all this, am I going to be safe in an aeroplane next year? Am I coming to America just in time?
I think you're going to be getting there just in time.
Oh, can I get home?
Yeah,
well, worst case scenario, I can't, but there you go.
At its current rate, we've got a few years until all that. But
yeah.
being in an aircraft where you're up high, you've got less of the atmosphere to absorb any of that ugliness that does make it through. So you would be more susceptible to that kind of stuff.
Oh, geez. Oh well, I'm coming to America at the right time though. But I'm yes, I decided, given all of what's been going on and going to go on and all that sort of thing, I got a good deal, less than half price of what it would normally cost me. That's the thing that's been stopping me, because it's just so expensive to fly to America. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so I'll be coming, and of course going to my home away from home, which is Virginia City. I'll be spending a couple of nights in Los Angeles and catching up with Lewis from Nerd Report and Lisa from Grayson Report. And for those of you who don't know, Lewis and Lisa are a couple. So basically catching up with Lewis and Lisa. And then head to Virginia City, and that's giving Enzo enough time to get his van all sorted, and hopefully he can join me in Virginia City and meet Taylor and all that sort of thing, and we can go on a few road trip adventures, possibly. Well, one at least, maybe, to the Lovelock Caves.
Yeah.
To where the giants died.
That's right. See where the giants got massacred.
Yeah. And but so that's something to look forward to. Fingers crossed it all goes off without a hitch, and what's meant to be is meant to be, isn't that right? But yeah, road tripping. So we'll see how it goes. But that'll be good fun. And so fingers crossed that works, and I get there with no worries. I was going to ask about something else too, Enzo. Hang on, let me see if I put it in my. I decided to be a little bit more organised this week. Oh, that's right. Now I remember. Aha! Get this, people. So Enzo last weekend went to his Paracon. I'll let him tell you in a minute. But we'll go into a thing. But remember, I used to say to everybody, I don't believe in demons. Most of you remember that. I'd say, demons, shememons. If I ever meet one, I'll ask it to have a cup of tea with me. Like, she'll be right. Honestly, with everything that's been going down the last, 2-3, well, before, but specifically the last 3 weeks, it's kind of like, what the hell? I reckon demons have possessed a massive amount of human beings on this planet, and I actually believe in demons now. They've gotten into everyone's brains. The things that you see, and I had a conversation with Joe yesterday. People know Joe Vitale, of course, from Entity 7 Paranormal, and I apologised to Joe because I said, Joe, you often talk about the demon or the Entity 7, which is something that Joe had experiences with, and I'd boo-hoo. I'd say, I love you, Joe, but demons, what a load of horse shit. Whatever. I apologised to him yesterday. I said, after what I'm seeing, people putting on their TikToks and laughing at death and like creepy shit, I said, I apologise. Demons are definitely real. So I still haven't actually met one in person, but I'm seeing plenty of them on the TikToks. So, which leads me in to the possibility of demonic and strange paranormal activity at Enzo's thing last week.
Yeah, last week, as some of you were watching it live, and I greatly appreciate you doing that. That's fantastic. Thank you for showing up. Everyone was excited there that people were actually watching our live feeds there on YouTube.
Oh, we were watching. I saw you were live. I saw it, and I shouted out to as many people as I could. And then, of course, drama. So let's let Enzo tell us all about the drama. People who are watching Enzo live know what happened. So
before we get into that, I'll explain what happened in the earlier part of the morning, because I think our doors opened at 9 to the public, and they're waiting for people that would come down there. They had these folks had a designated spot where they could be, which was across the street in a little grassy area across the street from the entrance of where our Paracon was. We had protesters. You've made it big when you get religious protesters out there protesting your Paracon.
Hi, Owen. I would. Yes, so they had at the Paracon. They had. I call the protesters that shove it down your throat, as do most Aussies here in Australia. We call them Bible bashers. So we don't. I don't mind people preaching all that sort of thing. That's fine. But the ones that try to shove it down your throat and you're going to hell, all that sort of thing, we call them Bible bashers. So poor old Enzo, Jessica, the lot of them at the Paracon had Bible bashers across the road.
Pulled her hair out. She was like, all things considered, they were semi-civilized about it. If they saw you outside of the building, they'd start yelling. They never approached anybody. They never went off the little grassy area where they were allowed to be, where it was considered a public area where they couldn't be on the street. They couldn't accost people. They couldn't do anything like that. So they kind of knew the rules, and technically they obeyed those rules. But still, apparently they were super mad that we had tarot card readers and people were doing readings and psychic kind of stuff in there. That seemed to be the crux of they had a few signs out there with very select Bible verses clipped out, a lot of witchcraft stuff. We didn't have any witches there. I don't know what that was all about, but they were very concerned about card games, palm reading, and witchcraft, which we weren't doing the witchcraft thing. I don't know what that was all about. But me and another guy that I know that Julie saw it. Yep. They would beckon you over. They had one main, it was their head preacher guy where hey, we just want to make sure if you're supporting that, you're supporting evil. And there were a few other people that I knew that as they were walking down the street, not knowing that, these people were going to be out there, where people are yelling, you're sinners, stuff like that. Yeah. But that's that's as far as it went, as far as that go. They weren't throwing things. They weren't, they're calling people sinners as they walk by, I guess. That's not that great, but considering the pantheon of things they could have been saying, that's pretty tame. So they hung out there, and
hell.
The most I think I heard that a couple times. But,
no.
it was part of the build-up story thing, because I had to go out to my van to get some, because it's the second you stepped outside, as soon as they saw anyone outside, they could hear him. We don't, we're worried about your souls. We don't want you supporting this stuff because it's evil. It says so in the Bible. All just the constant blah 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 stuff. But there were a few people from our group that actually one of our main speakers from Arkansas is he's a very religious Christian, and he actually he's a ghost hunter guy, and he incorporates that into the whole thing. It's even part of the speech that he gave this year, not knowing that we were going to have religious protests about it. And he went over there and talked to him for 10-15 minutes, and he was like, yeah, I might as well just been talking to this wall, because there was no convincing them of anything. There was nobody was going to change their mind. This is their view, and that's it, kind of a thing. But the most I saw, there was about 30 people and their kids. There were several children in the sub-teen range running around, and they hung out until about 2:00 because it was actually a little warm that day. I guess they all got dehydrated or something. I don't know. And they all split about 2:00. They broke it down and all that stuff. And after that, our crowd actually started picking back up, because basically people would be driving by, and there's not a lot of parking for that. To be fair, a lot of the people that come there live there in the town, and they can just walk from their house. It's not that far. But for people that were from out of town or live in a different, one of the neighboring towns that are going to drive over, they're driving around trying to find a place off to the side of the street and all that stuff. And all the spots are taken up by 30 plus protesters outside. And they see them out there, and they'd see people slowing down, looking around, looking for a spot. And they'd start in, you can't support them. You're all going to blah, blah, blah. So that was not the best. Our morning part, our numbers were a little low, but after they all left, our numbers picked up.
Everyone would know.
Yeah. And so after 2:00, our business started picking up and all of that. So everybody, a lot more people started coming in, a lot more. It was way more fun after 2:00. It was something off of our shoulders because they weren't out there constantly and all that, and people weren't being hassled. So that was all in the past. All the rest of the presentations were going on. We have one of the bigger ways we make money there, because it's a nonprofit thing. We earn just enough money to rent everything for next year. Rent the building we were in, and buy little tchotchke things, and have a lot of drawings and stuff like that for little things for people, bucket ticket, kind of thing. And I did my speech thing. Got a little bit. I had everything all set up. I like made sure my laptop was all charged up beforehand, so it would, because it was kind of far from where the electrical cord was. So I was like, I don't need to plug it in. I'll just I'll charge it up for a couple hours before I go out there. It'll be great. It'll be fine, just to be sure. Go out there, set everything up. Everything's going fine. I started getting like this scratchy frog in my throat in the middle of like the first slide, reading the little thing about the whatever the 1535 woodcut thing, and I just couldn't shake it for the longest time. I was just kind of choking out to try to speak. Turned it over to Pam for one thing, which was a local thing, which she knew way more about than I did. She's the one that gave me this video of basically spook lights there in the local area that someone had filmed. And while she was doing that, they gave me a chance to like step off to the side and really cough and clear my throat. And I was golden after that, because then we started getting into how to set up your cell phone, the different settings and all that stuff. I think I got like 2 or 3 steps out of that, and there's like 7 or 8. And I hear this giant crash from the back of the room.
Yep.
So what the hell? I look over, and a section of the ceiling had busted loose and was just hanging down, and just tens of gallons of water was just pouring out of the ceiling on top of all of the tables that were holding all of our we'll get to that in a second. But the ceiling busted, apparently, because we've had a lot of rain this entire summer, way more than we normally get all in the whole area. But I guess there was a little leak somewhere in the ceiling, and it's because it's a steel barn kind of style building. And the insulation was holding this water. It was just holding it like a big pocket. And for some reason, right at that very minute, it all busted loose and fell down on top of all of our little giveaway things where you could buy a ticket for $1 and all that stuff. So all that stuff got ruined and all that. But anyways, so we took a while to figure that out, and there was like wet insulation, which we didn't know if it had like fiberglass or anything in it, that had gotten like washed out into the middle of the floor. Plus, the people that actually own the building that we were renting from is like, don't clean up or touch anything, because we need to come and take pictures for insurance and all that stuff. Just, I'm sorry to say this, but you need to kick everybody out of there, because we don't know for sure what's in that insulation. We don't want anybody touching it or breathing it in or any of that other stuff. So we had to shut the entire thing down and all of that. And while everybody was basically working their way to the exit, I go up to my laptop, and when I get there, because of course I had been distracted, I see my low battery warning had popped up, and it had like dimmed the screen on there, which only happens when it gets to like 20%, which I was like 95% when I started the presentation 30 minutes prior. And I was like, what the hell? And so a couple people came up and were asking about the presentation, to include Julie. Julie was standing there and a few others. And I was showing them some of the other slides they didn't see real quick. And in the middle of doing that, computer completely died. Totally
and Julie
dead.
says her phone as well died.
Her phone died at the same time. When you watch the video, like if you go to YouTube right now and you watch my little presentation part, right before, like literally like seconds before the ceiling busts loose and drops all this water down on everything, the big screen, the big TV screen that I had behind me that I was showing the presentation on, blanked out, went black for a second, came back, and that's when the ceiling blew. So there was something weird there. Also, I mentioned this to, our, my paranormal group gang of, friends, and like, a few hours earlier, like around like, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, one of those bags off of one of those presentation tables, like was thrown off of there and hit a lady that was just walking by. And there were witnesses to it where the lady saw the bag fly off at her, but other people heard her yelp and saw the bag hit the ground after it like hit near where she was, where she's like 10 feet away from the thing, just walking by the table. And one of these little backpacks was like, it was literally like somebody just took it and threw it at her as she was walking by. And some of our more sensitive guests said that they felt like something was off in that whole little gymnasium.
I just have one question. I have one question. Are you sure there wasn't any of these little people around?
Raccoons? Is that a raccoon?
Yeah. Maybe it was a raccoon in the roof and a raccoon on the table, and the raccoon threw it.
This is Katy, Kansas. If there was a raccoon in there, someone would have eaten it.
Look, yeah, when you were saying that, because I was rather enjoying your talk, and so Tanya was there. We were listening. There was other people listening, and then you had to shut down. But I'm like, what the hell? And then when we were speaking about what had happened, maybe the Bible bashers were correct. Maybe they put a kibbutz on
I don't think I don't think they put the whammy on us. I think maybe it would have been possible that one of our other paranormal guests may have dragged something in on their shoe from a previous investigation, because there a lot of people in some of those groups went to a local place to do a ghost hunt the night before.
Oh.
Then they came straight
or there was something paranormal there in the that lives there, some spirity type thing lives there, and was none too happy with the Christian people across the road. Didn't like it because they were probably over there praying and whatnot. You don't know.
That could be. I didn't notice any of them like standing around like chanting, praying, or anything like that. It was basically like 29 people with kids kind of just milling around, and like 3 people holding up the 3 signs that they had, and one main guy that did all the yelling, talking, broadcasting kind of thing.
Do you know what religion it was? Were they dressed like Jehovah's Witnesses at all?
Oh, no. It was nothing quite like. They're a local Christian group. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I've never, nothing against anyone if that's what you are, but my experiences with those, that particular branch of Christian people is that generally speaking, they're the first ones to point that, like if they knock on your door and would you like to read the tower? And then you go, no, thank you, whatever. Aren't you afraid you're going to go to hell? It's like, so usually I don't like them knocking on my door.
Yeah, there were certainly some, I'll say there were some anomalous things to look back at it. I don't know if that means anything. There were certainly electrical things that happened there for my part. And it wasn't until later that I found out that somebody, she was right in front of me. Because she saw my laptop just died. The battery just went dead. And that's when she looked at her phone. She's like, my phone's almost dead. Look. So
anybody else mention that to you at all?
I didn't hear anything like that. The only other thing I heard was some people had a bad feeling when as soon as they'd step into because it was in a gymnasium is basically where we were doing the presentations and stuff at. But and then I heard about the several people that, were at least after the fact witnesses where they heard the ladies that almost got hit by the bag that was sitting on the table. And that's the thing, is all those bags were like against the wall, and they had like books and other stuff kind of like propped up against them. And basically this bag just flew off of the table and landed like almost hitting her in the leg, like right at her feet, kind of a thing, as she was walking by several feet in front of it. It wasn't like it just kind of tumbled off the table. So,
and not to mention that when the roof caved in, of all the places, of all the spots in the whole gymnasium, it had to be above that table where your raffle items were. And so everybody, the poor Jess that organises all of this sort of stuff, the long and the short is all the money that they'd made from the raffle had to be returned to the people who purchased tickets, because all the raffle items were ruined from the ceiling falling in.
Some people didn't. There were some things that were kind of salvageable that weren't exactly in the splash zone, because it happened like right in the middle of all these tables were. There were some things off to the side. I think they were able to kind of do something with, and plus there were other vendors that had separate things. They were doing kind of a raffle at their table, so those all went out.
Well,
some of them were really nice. There was like some big paintings and signed books and stuff like that. Those kind of things went off without a hitch. But the little stuff, which is kind of like how the Paracon itself kind of makes a lot of its cash. The good news is the actual numbers compared to last year. We kind of came out a little ahead of what we were, people wise. Basically, the big rush in the end, once the knotheads wandered off after getting sunstroke after being out there all day, a lot of people came in and all that. So
I can only say, thank goodness the roof didn't fall on any of the people that were there.
Well, the thing is this is where we did this is the Caney Rec Center. So there's always like a bunch of kids in there doing activities, and the local schools doing stuff in there all the time. That specific corner right underneath of that is where they usually do a lot of younger kids, while like the older kids are like doing something on the basketball court. So they're doing like a little thing to entertain the younger kids to keep them busy. And that's exactly where they would have been directly underneath of all of that. Not that, I mean, they would have gotten really wet and maybe gotten a sloppy piece of wet insulation stuck in their hair.
Well, it sounds like from what Julie's saying there, she had a nice time and she didn't care about the raffle items. I would have done the same thing. I wouldn't have I wouldn't have asked it for my money back for the raffle.
Julie's exactly right. If it was because it was during a presentation, it was later in the day. So nobody was like wandering it. Pretty much everybody had seen all the stuff, and examined it closely. And of course, couldn't miss my presentation because mine, of course, was the best. So I was drawing all the attention away from that side of the room.
Well, the good news for everybody is that I'm going to get Enzo to give his presentation through the week, maybe, or some through the week coming. Maybe we might get Enzo on. Whatever, we'll work it out. But I'd like Enzo because I was finding it really interesting. So what I'm suggesting to Enzo is that I shall zip my mouth and disappear, and I'll let Enzo do his little presentation. Or if Enzo wants to just do it himself, tape it, and we can pop it up. But whatever.
Actually, that has come up. I'm actually going to talk with the gang, I think, on Sunday. To see, because some people even asked as soon as it happened. Yeah, of course. Somebody asked at the presentation when it was official, we were closed, we were kicking everybody out. They're like, can you do this? Put this presentation online? Can you connect this with like your YouTube thing? And that is something I could probably slap together. I just haven't had the time to kind of smash that together. Same exact thing. I'll say all the same stuff. I don't know if we know. I am pretty.
He is.
But thank you, Erwin. But yeah, it was still a lot of fun. I think everybody had a good time there. I had a lot of positive feedback. It's like what we saw, we loved. We want to learn more, that kind of thing. But we were selling like these little programs which had like the schedule in there and like local maps and all that stuff. And because like the thing I was doing was kind of technical, the slides that I had to bail on, where it says these are the settings for your phone, these are the basic settings, what you need to do to make sure it's good for taking stuff for night photography, was included in there. So for $1, you could have gotten one of the little programs, and you were set. You got the meat and potatoes of it, which Julie did. Because I was actually offering it to everybody's like, hey, we're on the slides. If you want to just use your phone and like snap a picture of the screen, and then I'll shut everything down and we can all get out of here. But and about 10 seconds later is when the battery died on my laptop. So
and then and then you had to shut everything down, which would have been so disappointing for all the hard work that goes into preparing these paracons and gatherings. It's a lot of planning, and then for all of that crazy stuff outside, then the roof falls in. And I suppose the good news is if you use the same place again next year, the roof will be fixed.
The roof will be fixed. As I understand it, I think they've already offered, since our thing got ruined, they've already offered the use of the place for free. They're not going to charge us next year for that.
Oh,
so that's a good chunk of change that we don't have to basically sell our blood and plasma to try and earn the money for. So that helps out a lot.
So has anybody in the chat got anything you want to ask Enzo? Feel free to ask him some questions. And Julie went home via the back roads. I hope you didn't see any Bigfoots. Or maybe you did.
Actually, I think Julie's I think you were trying to tell me or start to tell me something about that you saw on the drive down. But that's when my battery died and a bunch of other stuff. And it was like, we got to get the hell out of here. This place is falling apart.
Yeah. Well, that part, as you say, that's the part of where you come from, that strange things happen. So, we haven't got much longer on anyway. You're not probably gonna. Well, you might miss something exciting. Who knows? Erwin's got to go to bed because it is late there in diddly dee potato land. I couldn't help myself. And thanks, Erwin, for popping in and saying hello. Have a good week. He and Tanya were having a nice little chin wag there for a minute. But yeah, I don't know. It's been some crazy times this last week with all the business with the comet, and then with like what's going to happen there, and then at least things seem to be settling down with some stuff. And but I think at the moment everyone needs to just concentrate on being happy and get out and smell the roses, or the flowers, as they say, a little bit. And I was saying to Enzo before we started how easy it can be sometimes if you are on the computer too much to be pulled into a rabbit hole that you really need to hurry up and climb right back out of. And he did. And I won't say what it was, but it was like Enzo said, stop watching that person. And I've gone, I normally don't. But it was like, and then I thought about it. I thought, oh, my God, yes. I'll stop watching. And sure enough, I'm fine now. But you sometimes.
I'm guilty of it, too. I shared with you over the phone a thing that I've certainly gotten sucked into that I wish I hadn't. But
I think so Enzo got sucked into the world basically ending in about 15 years time, 10 years time, something like
10
that.
15 years.
And I said to him, fingers crossed it's all a pack of, like the thing about the year, what was it, when all the computers would have a hissy fit, 2000, I think it was. When the all that sort of stuff. It was the world, and nothing happened. And it's the same with this thing now. We all kind of secretly probably wish it was an alien spaceship that's out there right now. Still being scared about it, but, you know, who knows? But my main concern is let's just hope it's nothing that's going to change course and bloody hit the planet.
If it's going to change course, it's going to be after it gets on the backside of the sun. I think it's October 29th or 30th is when it'll be on the backside of the sun from us, where we won't be able to see it, which is its closest approach to us, but the sun's in the way. I don't know if that's that point, and then it's like a couple days later where we'll actually be able to see it coming out past the sun, and then it skirts off towards Jupiter and back out of the solar system. So it could be we may have a Halloween alien attack if it turns, because when it gets close to the sun, if it's going to pivot, if it's going to change its course, it's going to be when it's right next to the sun, because that's the closest approach, and that's the most likely chance of it. If it's going to change its course at all, that would be the time to do it.
And isn't it something about coming around the sun that's the word I can't ever say. Trajectory. That's like if you were in a spaceship and you needed to swing in towards Earth, that is the path you would take to get here. So I don't know. I just remember that scene. And, oh, well, hang on, we're coming up to the 4th of July. But remember that scene in the movie, the 4th of July, where everybody goes outside and Will Smith goes out and picks up the newspaper and he looks up and it's like, holy cow. Like that spaceship was bigger than Manhattan, I reckon. But maybe it'll be like that. Yeah. And, of course, I love another movie that came out around the same time.
Welcome to Earth.
Yeah, what was that movie? Was it called Martians? The one with every actor you could possibly think of.
Mars Attacks. Started playing Slim Whitman, and their heads would explode.
Oh my God! And that was funny, but yeah, it was like, oh, we're all friendly aliens, yeah, and then. But yeah, the Chihuahua
Martians just killed all of Congress.
yeah, like oh my God. But you'd hope it's not going to be like either of those. But then it would be interesting to I reckon if something like that, when you look at how the human race is acting now, and what you hear them say. I reckon they want to fire something at it instead of going, oh, well, Struth, what are we going to do here? We better talk nice to it. I bet you there'd be dum-dums that'd take out weapons and try and shoot at it. Not me, not this dum-dum. I'd be like, either we're dead or we're alive.
In Independence Day, where all the people in Hollywood went up to the top of the RKO building, like, "Yay, take me with you, yay!" And they were the first to get blasted. They nuked the whole building.
That's what I mean. I would just stay here and hope for the best, and But I don't know what would really come out of it, because you've got, I don't know. It could be a wake-up call for the whole of the planet. Maybe they can become the rulers, and all of the stupid rich politicians will have to, I don't know, go and pick some strawberries. I don't know. It's kind of fun, but we'll see. Unfortunately, I really don't think it's an alien spaceship. It's just a crazy comet from another galaxy far, far away. And but it's fun to think about, and it's fun to imagine all these things happening. But oh yes, Julie, that movie with Mel Gibson.
That one little scene where the alien walks in front of the thing in the TV and everybody freaks out. Just that little glimpse was great.
I feel like watching that again, actually. That was a good movie. Plus it's Mel Gibson.
You know the alternate idea behind that, right? They're not really aliens. They're actually demons.
Oh, really?
Water hurts him. What did Mel Gibson used to do? He was a preacher, right? And he lost his faith because or whatever. And hands up to feed him by finding his face. Watch it now. Watch it now. The angelic little girl is the one that blessed all the little bottles, those cans of water all over the place. How stupid of an alien race do you have to be to where you're going to attack the population of a planet that's 7/8 full of water, and you can't be around water? That's stupid.
I'll have to watch it again. Well, Mel does. I'm actually. I was going to watch because I've seen Mel on quite a few things of late, and because Mel, for people should know Mel by now. Mel's dad was American, and Mel was born in America. But then Mel's dad and mum come out here to live when Mel was just little. So that's that's why he's Australian. But of course now he lives back in America. But I think he still has his farm here. I think he's still got both places. But I know that he had all that trouble, and I couldn't work out.
Mad Max Interceptor still down there.
But I know when Mel did that movie, the one with Jesus, I had a name. I can't remember.
Passion of the Christ.
But yeah, Passion of the Christ. I watched Passion of the Christ because I thought, oh my gosh, they did it all in, like, the actor. How brilliant was he? Like, he spoke in the language, like the whole thing. And I'm like, and then I just remember, though, at the time that it was made, that there was this big deal made, and people were calling Mel Gibson a something or other, a Jew hater or something. I don't know. And I'm like, what the fuck are you going on about? Made a movie about Jesus.
Right. Well, because he got all drunk and ripped up and made a nasty phone call to his daughter and she recorded it.
No, that wasn't Mel. That wasn't Mel. That was Alec Baldwin.
They both did it.
Mel?
Yeah. Mel had some drunken things that he said that he probably shouldn't.
That was when he got pulled over by the coppers. He got pulled over by the police and he was drunk. Yeah, Alec Baldwin.
That too.
Yeah. I don't believe he rang his daughter. Alec Baldwin certainly did.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin absolutely did, and it was recorded. And Alec said some horrendous things to his daughter. Yeah. But that was all around the same time, I think, too, when all that took place.
It was around there.
But yeah, Mel certainly, he went off the rails a little bit. But now that you know what was going on, and even he's admitted to what was happening and he's straightened himself out, there was a lot of pressure on him at the time because of that movie. Because he made that movie. People didn't want him to make the movie. And I'm like, what the hell? But if you want a really good insight to that, just watch the Joe Rogan interview with Mel, which was only a few months back now, I think. And Mel goes into all that. But now he's making the next one, The Resurrection. Same actor. Yeah. And they said, how are you going to do that? Because he's so much older now. Because that's years ago. And Mel said, well, thankfully, we've got all this, because he wasn't going to, but he said he couldn't make it and not use the same actor. So I believe they're going to, filters or whatever to make him still look,
CGI aging stuff. Yeah.
Look, I'd have to take a good look at a picture of him from back then, but he hasn't aged very much, that boy, that actor, like the one, I can't think of his name now. But yeah, so that'll be interesting to see his take on the resurrection. Because he says when Mel's talking to Joe, he absolutely believes in Jesus and everything, So I think it's just because in that movie he shows people that it was the Jewish priests, which is true, the Jewish priests at the time
turn him in.
that were responsible for Jesus getting killed, not just the Romans. So I think that's where that tag came. But he's just telling the history. So there's some strange ones, isn't there? But anyway, I don't like Hollywood anymore. Demons, I tell you, all of them, except for Christopher Pratt. Chris Pratt, he's nice.
There's a few good ones in there.
There's a few good actors still in there.
And that's actually why Mel Gibson was kind of allowed to come back, even though he said some kind of heinous stuff. To be fair, while being, under the influence of something, whether it be booze or pills or whatever it was. Still said some kind of unforgettable things, but he's so popular and such a good actor,
Good way.
director, everything else that brings in money. People will come. Well, one of the few actual big stars where people would come and, oh, Mel Gibson's in this. Mel Gibson has something to do with this. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. I wish Mel had come back home, though, to make his movies, because it's cheap to make movies here at the moment, because so Mel should come home. And he did come home and make a movie about a soldier on the hill. Oh, my Lord. What was that movie called? There was a movie he made a few years back with the young actor who did play Spider-Man. And the young actor plays a real-life hero, World War II story, but they made it here. So it was a young American soldier who continually climbed back up and rescued from it was a Japanese attack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Struth. I can't. I just can't remember the name of the movie, but it's excellent. I haven't got two screens anymore. I've only got one. I won't Google anything. I'll lose you. But yeah, Mel can make some bloody good movies. I must admit, though, one of my favourites of him is What Women Want, where he bumps his head or something, or he gets an electric shock in the bathtub and suddenly he can hear what women think.
Hacksaw Ridge?
Hacksaw Ridge. That's it. Yep, Hacksaw Ridge. Yes,
that's
if anybody wants
to...
Yeah, Stormy just said it too.
Yeah,
yes, yeah. Oh, thanks, Dee. Yeah, there was him and his missus or something. Yeah, his biggest mistake was leaving his first wife. But that's what happens when you go to Hollywood. Temptation.
Yep. All around you.
You know, look at, my heart's broken. Bloody Nicole Kidman and her hubby. Bloody hell, they're broken up. And what's the silly bastard gone and done? I don't blame anyone when it comes to cheating or anything. Shit happens and stuff happens. But you dickhead, he's taken up with a 25-year-old or something, and he's 52 now, I think. What's his name, guys? Nicole Kidman's husband. He's an Australian as well. I've just gone blank. The singer. But I'm like, you dickhead. So he's left Nicole. Whatever. Who gives a shit? Things happen, right? But he's taken up with a 26-year-old girl. That's going to last. That's really going to last. That's really good thinking, you dickhead. So he's in for his own hell. Keith Urban, thanks, Stormy. Keith Urban, no one needs to say bad things about Keith, because karma's going to hit him straight in the ass if not now, another year. Yeah, just a dumbass. Like, it's okay. Look, you can fall out of love with someone and things can happen. I mean, we're not to judge on my marriage, whatever. I'm just looking at who he took up with and I'm thinking, you dickhead. You absolute stupid dickhead. There is no way that's going to last. He's more than double her age. She's a young girl who's obviously, infatuated with Keith, and she's got a career that's about to take off. Well, so she thinks. I don't like her chances at the moment. But, yeah, impotence will get him, says Dee. Wow. I don't know about that. It's just that he's older than this girl. She's 26 years old. She'll start, she might, who knows what will happen. But, yeah, I don't think anyone needs to badmouth him, because he's destroyed himself anyway. With this, he's gonna have some pretty bad luck. So any money he makes from the divorce, watch out. Oh, dear. But, yeah, it is sad to see, though. They've been together for almost 20 years. It's just sad to see. Blue pills everywhere, says Julie. Oh, allegedly what, Jethro? Oh, allegedly he's having an affair with the 26-year-old. That might not be true. Who knows? Allegedly. I don't know. But I just think if it is true, then you're bloody ding-dong. Like, fair income, but never mind. It is what it is. And people, I never judge anyone when that sort of thing happens, because relationships are very complex. Marriages are absolute hard work. You got to work hard to keep a marriage working, and they worked hard and they kept it going for nearly 20 years. So not a bad effort considering the industry that Nicole's in, and even him, like, music stars, you know. I don't know. Well, what the hell got me to that? Oh, I don't know, because we're talking about Mel Gibson. I was just, yeah, because Aussies. But yeah, I wish Mel would come to Australia and make a movie or such. But yeah. Oh no, Keith's a good. Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not gonna go any of them because that's what I mean. Life shit happens. I'm sure he's not happy that the marriage broke up. I'm sure that it's far more complex than is our business. It's none of our business. It's just out there because of who they are. But if he has made that choice with that young lady, and it may not be, he could be involved with someone his own age, who knows? But if that is what's happened, poor old Keith is going to be in for it. So, you know, shit happens. Third time lucky for Nicole. I heard someone the other day make a joke and say, oh, there's rumours she's getting back together with Tom. I'm like, oh, I doubt it. She's made some pretty sexy movies lately, though, old Nicole. There was that movie she made with, the basketball, what's his name? Shit. Zac Efron. She was in a movie with him, and then she was in another movie where she plays a lady that's controlled by a gentleman, in a sexual way. I'm like, crikey. I haven't watched them because I'm not interested in watching that sort of shit anymore. But I watched the one with Zac Efron because that was a comedy. But even then, I don't need to see people. What about you, Enzo? Do you need to see people in the bedroom having near sexual relations? I don't think it's necessary.
No, not really.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. NRL Grand Final. What's the NRL, National Rugby League? Is that what it is, Jethro? I don't actually watch the NRL. I don't really even like football, so I couldn't tell you. But I still know if you asked me of AFL, if you asked me about AFL, which is now finished, I think. I don't even know. Oh, yes, it's finished because we had Snoop Dogg here in Australia do the grand final. The same as what you have for the football in America. You know how you have the big game at the end and the big singers or whatever sing songs.
Yeah, the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah, well, we just had our grand final here, and Snoop Dogg was the main attraction. And actually, I saw a part of it. He did pretty good. Yeah, did pretty good. Snoop Dogg. He got out there and he sang and yeah. Oh, Tanya says you've got Pornhub. That's all you need. Broncos versus Melbourne. I'll go Melbourne. I don't know if they'll win, but because I was born in Melbourne, I'll go Melbourne. But the Broncos will probably. I did see the Broncos play Canberra because I was at my son's house in Canberra the other week, and I did see the Broncos beat Canberra, which was surprising, to be honest. But anyway, is what it is. But there you go. What's that? Pornhub? You mean Pornhub for scientific research? Yeah, Snoop was really good. I watched it. I didn't watch the game, but I watched Snoop because I like Snoop Dogg. He's all right. What sizzle dizzle or whatever, trizzle, however he used to talk back in the day. But there you go. But yeah, so yeah, lots been happening in the world. Sometimes the world's a bit crazy, and as Enzo says, last weekend for him was not too much fun, but it is what it is.
Still
but
got to meet and chat with a lot of people. It's good to see Julie there. Once I figured out who it was.
So did Julie introduce herself? Surely she did.
She not to me. I saw her from like across the room. I was like, that could be her. And actually, I was going to talk to her after my presentation, and then things were so chaotic. I'd be like, "Are you Julie?" I thought it was her, but I wasn't sure, and it just didn't come up because they were kind of trying to get people to get out of there so they could close the place down. They didn't want anybody hanging out there in the gym, basically. So
Well, in case
we were
the
trying to
hole
clean everything up, and they were like, "No, don't touch it, because we need it
was,
we need to come in and take pictures for insurance purposes and all that stuff." So just get everybody out.
no. Well, nothing much has been happening with me here. I did have. Guess what? I think I told you this, Enzo. I can't remember. I was sitting in my lounge room, or what do you call it in America? What do you call your lounge rooms in America?
Living room.
Living room. Yeah, living room. So I was sitting in my living room on my chair with my laptop on my knee, right, having a cup of tea. It was morning time. I'm up at 5 every morning, 4:35 a.m. I'm up.
Why?
So I go out. I don't know. I'm just awake. So I go outside. The sun's up, do a few things, and I came inside, and I leave the back door. It's a sliding door, a glass sliding door, and I leave that wide open so the dogs can just run in and out if they like. So I'm sitting there, and I hear this like a tap noise, and I'm like, are my chickens out? Because my chickens are not out at the moment. I have them in. I'm thinking the chickens bloody escaped and they're coming in the house again, because they tend to do that if they're out. And I look down around the corner of the sofa. There's this bloody cockatoo, a wild cockatoo that comes into my yard every morning, every lunchtime, every afternoon. 3 times a day it comes into the yard. It's been known to knock on my window, try to open the door, no joke, flew onto the handle of the door and flapping its wings. And yesterday it decided it's time to come into the lounge room and sort of look at me as if to say, what are you doing? Where's my breakfast? And I'm like, dude. And I've gone, and I'm like, oh my God. So I got up off the chair and went out and fed it. But it's pretty cute, though. I mean, it's a wild cockatoo. It's like, it's not. But I'm getting close to it letting me. I have touched it once on its cheek, because what I do is I give it some seed in my hand, right? And as it's there digging with its little beak, I touch the side of its head. It lets me do that, but I would love to just, pet it a little bit, but it is a wild cocky, so you've got to be careful. But wild cockies. But yeah, so that happened to me yesterday. And what else has been happening? Yeah, I don't know.
Disney princess.
I am. I wish they'd come and do my housework. That'd be nice. Isn't it in the Disney movies where the birds come in and the mice do the dusting and what's that? Someone from the afterlife says hi. Why? Where? What? Oh dear. I might have missed something there, but yeah. So anyway, the cocky came in, and then but I've got a lot of animals that the birds that fly in every day, and I'm careful. I'm careful what I put out for them. And there's been a couple of sick cockatoos come into the yard, and the minute I've seen them, I've let them eat. But then I've cleaned off everything because they're it looks like beak and feather. So, Julie says it was nice to drive to Caney. Just a 2.2 hour drive. That's not far.
It's
2.5 hours.
about a 2 hour drive for me too.
Yeah. The cocky, that's right. Oh, the cocky was. Well, maybe. I did have my own cocky that passed away. I had to have it euthanized. And this is only a young cocky though that comes in, but no, it's just the cocky. But might have been a human at one point. Who knows? But it comes every day. And when it does come in, it's got a little friend with it. So it comes. It's the one that makes contact with me, and the little one, or the younger one, stays back. But yeah. So I can't move from here ever, that means, because the cocky will outlive me. They live to be 100 or more.
They'll end up like that squirrel at the very top of the show where the people fed it
zombie.
And then left. Yeah.
If anybody missed my little stories at the top of the show, go back and have a look. There's the zombie squirrels. I put a picture up of the zombie squirrel, and then there's a squirrel that attacks So a few little animal stories at the top of the show. The story about the squirrel that attacks, that was funny. I enjoyed that. But yeah, and we're coming up to the end of the show already, Enzo. Now, Julie, did you see anything of interest on your drive home?
Because it would have been dark for that drive home. It was dark for me.
Yeah. And Enzo I did say to Enzo, he did let me know he got home and he was tired. So that was nice. It's always nice to know when someone gets home.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's a big day. Like 2 hours, 2.5 hour drive isn't much in the daytime. And once you're awake and it's early, it's not much. You just go for a 2.5 hour drive, stretch your legs, have something to eat, and you're sorted. But on the same day, driving home for that 2.5 hours in the dark, that's a bit different.
I made the mistake of taking my van down there with me, which of course it's just an empty van. Really, I don't really have that much built up in it yet. But it's perfect for schlepping tables and chairs from the library that we were borrowing for the day to set up stuff there for all the presentations, which of course, at the end of the day, you got to schlep them all back that night. So to be fair, we were doing it a few hours earlier because we still had a few more hours of the show left because finished my presentation, then we had the last presentation, which was the UFO panel, and then that's when we did all the drawings. That's when we settled up with picked all the tickets for all the giveaway stuff, which that's like everybody's exciting part. That's like I've certainly been on that last panel where it's like, I understand everybody, you just want me to shut up so we can get to drawing your prizes. I get it. But I'm not done yet.
It's such a shame. But hopefully next year's will go off without a hitch, and the Bible bashers hopefully won't be there annoying you. They'll give up. Or if they are there.
To be honest, looking back at the whole thing, they were way more well behaved. Honestly, I thought there would be like 3 people or 4 people out there for like a couple hours and that's it. And a color for sure. Yeah. I actually watched back that segment on the YouTube there where after the mishap occurred and I went up into the camera to tell everybody what's going on. I saw everybody's comments about my shirt and all that stuff, my UFO shirt. Yeah, everybody loves that shirt. Yeah,
it was a good one. But there you go. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. Have you got anything planned for this weekend coming up, or next weekend, or are you going to be okay for our show on the Sunday as per normal?
I should be okay for next week. I'm just going to be pecking away at the van. I got to get back to start building on that. We're supposed to have good weather, I think. Actually, I think we're going to get a little bit of fall weather, so it'll be a little cooler out next week for where I am. So.
All right. Okay. Yeah, it's spring here. Jethro's just said that he's got Maggie. I love magpies. I wish I had a magpie coming up to my back door here. I love them. And they're so cheeky. They definitely come inside. And lorikeets are cheeky too. They're all very cheeky once they get to be feeling safe with you. So, it is. But I've got the lorikeets in my backyard. I've got native trees with all the native flowers. So the lorikeets come in and eat the flowers, which is nice. And they're not as cheeky. It's the cockatoos I have trouble with here. They're the ones that come in the house to say, bloody feed me, and knock on the window and sit there and stare at me until I go outside. It is cute, though. I think that there's something about an animal, that connection you get where they don't understand what you're saying. But
what's going to happen when you go to the US next year?
That's right. Well, that's why, I can't wait to get back. And one of the first things I'm going to do, obviously, Taylor's got 3 dogs, right? Hopefully they're all still there when I get there because, but I think they will be. The dogs I just adore. So obviously I'm going to cuddle the doggies. But then I will be searching for those wild horses I just adore. And I've got to go and see the donkeys, or the mules, the donkeys, down at Connie's house, and see Connie. And but the first few things I'll be doing. And I think isn't it summertime, the bears are out and about, or am I wrong? Is it bear season?
They're out and about.
Then that means, because I'll be probably staying with Taylor for a time, she's got the bear that comes up and goes through her bin. So this little black duck is going to be definitely trying to put a little present out for the bear. I'll just have to, I won't feed the wild horses. But as I say, I can't help it. If I'm carrying a bag of shopping.
I'm imagining a bear bundt cake out on top of the garbage can for it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm definitely going to have to take a trip into the Carson City Walmart, which I've never had problems going there. I've been there quite a few times, and I've never seen any strange or rude behaviour at the Carson City Walmart. What I do see, though, is tons of food that I just want to eat. But I'll make sure I buy some. Yeah, I'll make sure I buy some cake for the bear, and then get a photo, and I'll be happy. Imagine if it was friendly and it would let me pet it.
That's what the guy in the documentary thought. The Bear Whisperer. What was that show? The one with the guy went out with the bears up in Alaska and they ended up eating him.
Oh yeah, well that was just silly. I mean, he should have known better. Not so much that he was. I think him on his own. He'd been there enough times that him on his own, there did not seem to be an issue. The issue was that he introduced his girlfriend into the mix, and his girlfriend apparently was menstruating. So, dickhead. So just
I understand that it was also late in the season, because when it gets to be time for them to hibernate through the winter, they need fat stores. So they need to eat like everything they can find. And if that happens to be people, okay.
So I'll be the cake. I've got lots of birds, Julie, but yeah, I've got corellas come into the backyard here as well. They're noisy little buggers. They're cute to look at, but they're noisy compared to the cockatoos are noisy, but corellas have got a horrible screech. Oh, that guy, yeah, but he went, there was something to do with the girlfriend. They said when you get right to the end of it and they discuss what happened, they say the very fact that he had the female there at that time, and they believe that that's what brought that particular old bear in. And then what do? What do? They go in and they shoot the bear. They shouldn't have shot the bear.
Bears doing what bears do. I mean,
they should have just collected what was left. You know, you don't. It's the same when a shark eats a human. Half the time they don't even eat the human anyway. They take a bite.
Yeah, they take a nibble and realize, that's not what I thought it was.
That's not what I thought it was. Gross. You know, so I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of killing an animal because it's killed a human. I'm just not, because that's, if you put yourself into the position that you're in their house, then it is what it is. You know, it's not fun. Yeah, exactly, Julie. It wasn't the bear's fault. But anyway, well, we're up to the end of the program, the end of the 2 hours. I appreciate everybody who's been here for the full amount of time. It's been awesome. The usual regulars for our little chinwag. Yeah, if you didn't see the story about the zombie squirrel and the squirrel that attacks, go back to the front and just watch that. It's not very long. Tanya, don't you hate when you are carrying shopping past the wild horses and you accidentally drop the shopping? I know. Or worse, the silly horse comes up and bumps me and I drop the carrots and the vegetables everywhere. It's you know, what can you do? No worries, Jethro. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And anyway, until next week, and hopefully beforehand, because now that I'm sort of all sorted and everything, I'm pulling my finger out. I've said that a million times before, but I am pulling my finger out because there's a few things I want to do some little presentations on, and hopefully Enzo might be able to give us at least some of his presentation from that he didn't get to finish. That'd be nice. He can talk about. I am intrigued, Enzo, by the LA UFO.
Oh, the Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, so maybe you can talk about that next week. That is interesting. I know people have talked about it before, but I still
was
find
genuinely surprised at the number of people in the crowd that had no idea that even existed.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, stay tuned. I'll see if I can get Enzo to talk about that next week. And yeah, until next week, and what crazy things might happen in between here and then, we'll see what's happening. And thank you, Tanya. Love you. And I'll talk to everybody very, very soon. So have a wonderful weekend and stay safe. And Enzo and I will be here next week as well. Bye.